Welcome participants. We'll start the session at 11. Please stay connected. Welcome participants. We'll start the session at 11. Please stay connected. Welcome participants. We'll start the session at 11. Please stay connected.
Good morning, all the participants. The session will begin exactly at 11 o'clock. We stay connected. So today's session is by Engineer Shivayogi Hireman. The topic is career opportunities in railway industry. The session will begin exactly at 11 o'clock.
Welcome participants. We'll start the session at 11. Please stay connected.
Good morning, all the participants. The session will begin exactly at 11 o'clock. Please stay connected. So today's session is by Engineer Shivayogi Hireman. The topic is career opportunities in railway industry. The session will begin exactly at 11 o'clock.
Welcome participants. We'll start the session at 11. Please stay connected.
Good morning, all the participants. The session will begin exactly at 11
Welcome
o'clock.
participants. We'll
Please stay
start the
connected.
session shortly.
All the participants, today's session.
Welcome participants. We'll start the session shortly.
All the participants, civil engineering professionals.
Welcome participants. We'll start the session shortly.
All the participants, civil engineering professionals.
Welcome participants. We'll start the session shortly.
All the participants, webinar civil engineering professionals. Department of
Welcome participants. We'll start the session shortly.
all the participants, webinar civil engineering professionals and of Department of
Welcome participants. We'll start the session shortly.
all the participants, webinar civil engineering professionals and of Department of
Welcome participants.
request all the
We'll start the
participants
session shortly.
connect all the participants, webinar civil engineering professionals and of Department of webinar.
Welcome participants. We'll start the
Two
session
feedback.
shortly.
All the participants, webinar civil engineering professionals and of Department of feedback for the whole webinar series. Two feedback. I repeat, participants, webinar two feedback today and of Department for feedback today's webinar series and one more feedback for the entire webinar. I request all the participants for submit both the feedback without fail. One more feedback for the entire webinar. Our webinar, all the participants will begin submit at 11 o'clock exactly. One more feedback for the entire webinar. Our webinar, all the participants will begin submit at 11 o'clock exactly. One more feedback for the entire webinar.
I request participants to keep their mic in mute option throughout the session for the smooth conduction. Thank you. We will start the session exactly at 11. Over to organizers for starting the session.
Thank you, sir. Today is a perfect opportunity to start building the tomorrow that you really want. A very good morning to one and all. I, Vaishali Khanapur from Civil Engineering Department of Ambi Institute of Technology and Management. It's my pleasure to welcome you all the participants and our today's resource person, the engineer Shivyogi Hiremat for the fifth day of webinar series on life skills for civil engineering
This
professionals.
conference will
Now,
now be.
I
This
will
conference is no longer
Professor
being
V.V.
recorded.
Surebhati to give an introduction of our today's resource person. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, one and all. It is my privilege to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Shivyogi Hiremat. He is a rail professional with over 9 years of experience working in rail industry. He has worked on major rail infrastructure projects of India and Netherlands. Major experience include track and design from inception till detailed design phase. Currently, working with the top German-based
This
company,
conference will now be recorded.
South Asia Private Limited, as principal engineer design in Bangalore. He is working as a proof-checking expert for Frankfurt, for Nagpur Metro, Kolkata Metro projects. Has proven experience in track alignment design on wide range of railway projects with ballastless and ballasted platforms. He has served as assistant manager, urban transport in RITES Limited for 4 years, working on Bangalore Metro, underground project, and Mumbai suburban rail projects. Also for 3 years, he has worked with the topmost design consultancy company, Arcadis. He has designed major complex arts remodeling projects, track renewal projects in Rotterdam City, and more than 5 track construction projects of Netherlands. He is a member of Permanent Way Institution UK and Institute in helping young graduates with career advice. He also runs awareness program on wellness and nutrition. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Shivyogi, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yes, sir. You can keep your mic, camera. Yeah, we can see you, sir, now.
You can see that? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. You can continue with your session for today.
Okay, right. Thank you. Okay. So you were able to hear me clearly and seeing my screen?
Sir, we can.
Yeah. Good morning to all of you, people who are attending today's session. And as introduced, this is Shivyogi here. And thank you for such a wonderful introduction. I was very much excited to give this presentation today because though I have been telling my seniors or my juniors across the industry, and I keep on sharing stories on how the rail industry is working and what's happening in today's market. But I never got a chance to speak so formally so that I can reach to much wider audience. So thank you for that opportunity. And so that today I will make sure that something from which I have learned over these 10 years and my experience in the rail industry, I can give some insight on how the industry is working and how we can get into it, right? Okay. Though I'm not any regular speaker or a presenter, but because I had to give this opportunity of sharing the rail industry, I wanted to tell. So this is the one thing which I thought, okay, let me give as a formal presentation so that I will be reaching to much brighter people or much bigger audience. So I did not make any full-fledged agenda, but of course I would be telling you very few facts and figures along with some of the details about the industry. I would be talking on rail market, what's the current market in India and abroad, and how engineering background graduates or postgraduate guys can enter into the rail industry if they really wish to and if they think they are capable of it. And what can they do when they come into rail domain and how can they sustain in the rail industry for a longer time. And at the last, if at all you have to compare with the other professions or the profiles among the civil engineering community, why should you choose rail industry as your career for the next 15 to 20 years of your career? And of course, if time permits, we will have some question and answer discussion. If at all, if any of you have questions regarding my presentation, I will be very glad to answer those. Bear me if at all I try to complete it, the slides within 45 or 50 minutes. As long as you people are listening to it, I'm okay with that. Okay. Right. Yeah. Hope you see the current screen slide. If you just glance at all the values and the kind of things you're looking on the left side, you can see the almost 15 to 20 cities across India are now already in the construction stage of metro projects. And if you see just the kind of network they are trying to build, not less than at least 10-20 kilometers until it reaches up to 100 and 150 kilometers planning for the current scenario. And the amount of project cost which has been invested in these projects, looking at these and the kind of deadlines what they have been already given in the next 5 years, you can imagine the kind of project investment from the government and how supportive is the government of India and the central state government and all the world banks who are putting in all effort in the cities in India. And also, I don't know if how many of you are already aware of the kind of metro projects which are under operational. At least Bangalore Metro, many of us have heard. Though the 5 years back, and it's one of the oldest metro, and that's become a kind of idol for most of the metros which are coming up. People are taking that as a base or kind of a foundation in terms of design, in terms of experience of construction and all, and they are executing these projects. So just by sheer the amount of investment and the kind of metro network you see, you can imagine the kind of future it has. If I talk about things which are apart from which are under construction and which are already operational, there are a few more projects which the government has already sanctioned, and the government is already looking into the feasibility of sanctioning these projects. So there are some of the tier 2 cities of North India and up the mountain area, which I can say Jammu Kashmir or even the Uttarakhand. Even that region, they are trying to plan a metro system. So I can definitely tell that in no less than 15 to 20 years, this kind of vast mega projects are going to stop. Having said that, there might be 1 or 2 projects which are under consideration. They might come on board, or they may get sanctioned, or they may not get sanctioned. But looking at the overall scenario, I can say almost 25 to 30 cities of Indian states. If you pick up any of the state, and there will be 1 or 2 major cities where the metro is already planned, or it will be planned in future. Now, why I showed this slide is just to imagine the kind of scale these metro projects is having, and the kind of opportunities we should look for to get into this. especially the people who are starting their career at a very young stage, maybe the bachelor or the postgraduate. But even in the professional who are in just starting stage, maybe 1 or 2 years, I think for them it's right time to get into this kind of project if they wish to, and they find metro projects are very exciting compared to other conventional works what they are doing. Now, when I talk about the scope of the current infrastructure development across the world, I will say that India is in the top 3 countries across the world who's at the hotspot of infrastructure projects, that's to basically transport infrastructure projects. Not only the metros, even the regional metros are coming up, high-speed railway networks are coming up. You must have already seen in the newspaper that Mumbai to Ahmedabad and via all those things, you will see a high-speed rail, almost 500 kilometers of stretch will be covered in 1.5 to 2 hours. And also from Delhi to Meerut, all those corridors have been planned, and I'm sure in future there are a lot many other corridors are coming. Apart from India, there is big opportunity or a demand in terms of rail projects for Australian region. Australia is one of the biggest continent as well as country, but because of so much of population who's coming as an immigrant, or I can say the kind of infrastructure they want to build in future, that requires a lot of investment, and they are of course planning to invest more than $10 billion for the next 10 years in terms of rail infrastructure projects. And if you talk about UK, of course, though the UK is very small region in terms of physical aspect, but I can assure you that one of the world's top 5 to 10 companies in terms of rail design consultants, they work dedicatedly for the UK region. If I tell that in India, almost there are 5 to 6 major MNCs in the rail design company, they dedicatedly work the whole manpower on majorly of UK projects. By just what I'm trying to tell is the railway industry is at the very golden stage of its lifetime. All over the world, people are realizing the kind of value the metro project is having, the kind of benefits they would be getting out of it, and it's not going to stop. So that's what I felt that, okay, let me cascade this information to the people so that they are aware of things and they can make use of it. Of course, apart from these major countries, there are other small countries which are looking small, but the rail infrastructure is among the topmost technologies they are having, like Singapore, Malaysia, and the Emirates, and the UAE part of the Middle East. They are coming up with a lot of metro projects. You must have recently heard on the Doha Metro, Dubai Metro, and Etihad Metro Rail. They are all Riyadh Metro. There are not many projects coming up, and they are not at all going to stop. So the only reason why I'm trying to get to this is to have a sheer imagination on the kind of vast opportunity we would be having. So if I just want to tell you how a typical metro project in India works, though it is not that important, but I just wanted to tell you how the structure of Indian metro rail project works. Basically, a metro rail company is formed with the help of a joint venture of a government of the state in that particular country. Like for example, if you see slide on my screen, I have taken an example of Mumbai Metro Rail Corporation. So that's called MMRC. And the funding or the financing what it is getting is with the joint venture of government of Maharashtra and the central government. And also I can say the majority or more than 50% or close to 50% of the finance is done through international banks. So most of the Indian metro rail projects, if you see or if you study the reports, the funding will be coming from the JICA. It's basically a Japan International Cooperation Agency, which finances almost all metro projects, transport projects, big infrastructure projects in India. So when a metro company is formed and it has to start the metro project, so because it's a new company, and it needs lot of resources to maintain the entire mega project. So they alone cannot do that. So that's why there is a legal entity which is also again helping the metro company. They normally in the metro language they are called tender consultants or the engineers representatives. So in Mumbai Metro Rail project, there is a consortium, or I can say joint venture of 3 to 4 design consultant companies who look after the entire project on behalf of the metro company. So I can give an example of an AECOM-led consortium, that is the general consultants for Mumbai Metro Rail project. Now, once the general consultants are appointed, they will assist the company in all the pre-construction process, right from the specifications, tendering stage, and closing the tenders and creating all the specifications, details, right from the commercial, and across whatever things comes in the metro rail corporation. So once this is done, the metro company appoints the contractors to execute the work. So typically, if I talk about more in terms of language of a civil engineer, there are at least 2 to 3 different packages or the kind of contractors you would be facing in terms of execution. Like for example, a civil contractor is the person who creates the wide components, right from the foundation till the pier cap and the girder portion. And the track contractor builds all the rail components, track slab over it. For example, L&T is doing that for Mumbai Metro, one of the sections. And for tunnel, and for the tunnel contracting, there is a Hindustan Construction Company which would be doing it. Now, these are the people who would be executing the work or constructing the infrastructure. There is one more entity which has to be appointed in order to design this particular thing. So nobody can start working directly to execute the infrastructure work without having a design approval. So they dedicatedly have to appoint a company which is in metro language called DDC, or a detailed design consultant. So these companies help in all the entire design, right from the construction or preliminary design till final design stage. And once these designs are approved from the going for the execution work.
This conference will now be recorded.
Construction, or how does it look in general physically. If you look at the first slide, it's basically they start with the most of the time the route which they opt is through the track, the road side, a median we call it the center of the road. They opt for that. That would be the safest part, and to have the major connectivity across all the roads and routes, they try this kind of alignment. That basically starts right from the foundation, pile foundation, as it will be pile cap. Then over that they will be building the piers, and then will be pier cap, and finally they launch the girder. Once they launch the girders, and this part is completely is called civil engineer or civil contractor's role. After that, whatever the above the girder you should see in the bottom slide on the left side, where my mouse is pointed, that's called the track slab portion. So the track contractor comes and builds the entire track slab, right from the track pins and the derailment guards and all the walkways. All these parts till the finishing part is taken care of the track contractor. And finally, the metro is operational and the train is run over. Now, when I tell about the scope for engineers, so metro project or a metro rail industry is such a huge industry that you just name a kind of a profession or engineering profession, you will have their scope of work in that. So, but to be precise, majorly, if I look at in a broader perspective, there are a few engineering disciplines which are majorly involved in the metro project. such as civil, I can say, all the core engineering departments. You name it, they would be having a major chunk of services to provide in this project. I will tell later about how dedicatedly a particular stream of discipline or catering into metro projects or helping them into service. Because I thought, because I'm basically a civil engineer, I thought I can more do justice to tell more clearly on how a civil engineer can get into this kind of metro rail domain. So that's why I took this slide. Though it is as good as and as equal opportunity for the other disciplines as well as electrical or electronics or mechanical. They have equal opportunities and they're equally contributing into things. But today I would be just focusing on this particular domain, civil. So many people, the graduating people or the young kids, they would be either going through a master's or they would be happy with some graduation with just a civil engineering. But when you have a master's, you will be having little more specified, structured discipline, I can say, like for structural engineers and the transport engineers. They are majorly, and the construction management engineers with a master's in discipline are majorly involved in the related to track field. There are some profiles which are in highly demand based on my experience and based on the industry experts when I discuss. They feel the ones which I have showed in kind of pink color, like the BIM engineer or a digital engineering or the operation and maintenance, or for that matter, even the track alignment engineer and the track design. These are the few professions which are in highly demand compared to others. That doesn't mean that those other professions are not at all in demand, but yes, these people are frequently required for any kind of metro construction project right from the start. Because I will tell the more in detail why these professions are in so much demand. Everything starts from the civil engineering part, of course, execution, and later on, when the infrastructure is constructed, you will try to get all the services in place. Now, this is a very important slide. What I wanted to discuss is basically is more focused on the young engineering graduates and the people who are trying to fit into the industry. Why I say this is because everybody knows in today's Indian education system or the kind of academic syllabus what they are having, it's highly impossible to fit everything what industry demands in today's world. That is practically impossible. But the kind of industry requirements doesn't fit into academics what they learn or what they have been taught. So there's been huge, I can say, there is a demand, but there is a supply is not the quality supply which is coming out. By that I mean is the engineering graduates who are passing out are not employable in terms of the skills or the attitude and the kind of knowledge they should be having towards any kind of domain. That's become quite different. There's a huge difference in that. That's why in the rail industry, if you see, the most of the professions are of the experienced candidates. They try to prefer the experienced people. But why so is the very basic reason, because every company is on a time-bound project. They have to deliver the project in 4 to 5 years, and they have huge cost implications. They do not want to risk their company in terms of training at the young graduates, or they want to experiment with the candidates whether he would be working towards us or not, whether he would be right fit for our company or not. They do not have that much of time. So that's why they do not try to get into young graduates. But still, if candidates have certain skills already at the start of their engineering, when they pass out from engineering, of course, they can make it into this kind of industry as well. But if at all they have to choose, then you should be very special in terms of your knowledge and your skills and the kind of learning what you have got. That has to be special. The major question why, if somebody asks, I have a degree from IIT, even from NIT, or even from the top engineering colleges of India or Karnataka, then of course everybody has a degree. At the end of the day, you have a degree in engineering. But what after that? So the next question comes is how specially you are. compared to other engineering graduates, right? So that's the major question you have to think as an young graduate, that how can I fit into this industry with certain skills which I can develop. So you need to work on your profile even before applying for any kind of job related to metro. You have to have almost started at least in 6 months to 1 year back preparing for such kind of opportunities if you're really looking into getting into rail industry. To my experience, I felt that because when I look back, I made a lot of mistakes because at that time, 10 years back, we were not frankly very much exposed or kind of had so much of interaction with the industry guys. And now we had any kind of mentors who would provide or guide us in terms of rail industry or how to get into this. So we struggled to get into certain kind of job, or we try to fit into this job. But in today, it's the scenario is a lot more changed. You do not have time to fit into it. You need to be well equipped even before the start of it. So in my experience, I felt that if the person or the young graduate or the people who want to start into rail industry, if they do kind of homework well before the actual day, they would be very much in a good position or in a good shape that they can grab the opportunity when it comes. So I think that they should start with very basic concepts. Just do not study for the sake of passing the university exams or something like that, but be more aware on the kind of concepts.
Hello.
Qualify. Hello.
Are.
Be more aware on the concepts and the kind of
What
knowledge.
about
Sorry. You need to get exposed to the rail industry, kind of the rail projects which are happening. Try to Google it, try to get in touch with the industry guys, and just try to focus on some companies which you think, okay, I can get into these companies and let me make shortlist the companies which I want to. Just focus on those companies and try to search what kind of profiles they are looking and what kind of things you are lacking in terms of the job description. And how do I fulfill it? How do I fill the gap so that industry takes me? And when it comes to CV also, you cannot just have your degree percentage or kind of some hobbies mentioned in your CV and you just submit it to the company and you get any kind of interview call. No, it's not going to happen. So there are almost, I think, more than a lakh, or I don't know, it must be more than that, 1.5 lakh. I heard that engineering graduates pass every year from the, at least in Karnataka. So how good you are in terms of anything better than that. So you have to think on that and be prepared in order to focus on certain skills and learning. When it comes to rail industry, because it's such a special industry and because Indian universities do not teach any kind of major part of rail industry, it's very much important for you to learn it from the outside source. What I mean is you should get into such a internship with these companies that, okay, I have a little bit of knowledge. You work for at least 3 months with them, 6 months with them. You get a hold of some project experience. Maybe it is a very minute also, but it will add on to your profile a lot when you apply for the job. There are not many courses, online free courses, even paid courses with very minimal amount. There are trainings given by major academies in the India. I would be showing in the future slide. So you have to focus on those things because there are also certain softwares which you have to learn. Might be I would be discussing on the next slide. So you cannot just be empty-handed when you want to focus on a career like this. So there are a lot. It sounds a lot of hard work, but yeah, today's world demands the same thing. You cannot just keep silent and expect your teachers or your college to give them a job and hand over jobs with some kind of influence or some kind of reference. That's not going to happen. This world is going at a very fast rate, and nobody would like to wait for you till you complete your entire thing. Lastly, I would be telling on those things like, because I see and I have faced and experienced that young generation are a lot more attracted with social media, they have their mobiles with them. But I feel I should tell them that, okay, we have that much of technology and kind of internet and the time. So make a best use of it. Try to get every single thing on your mobile. You can do the entire world. You can dig out any kind of information related to the metro technology, what's happening, how can you learn what things are going on in terms of design, in terms of construction work, anything. You just Google it or you just YouTube it, you will find everything. So try to get some kind of learning. Never stop learning from these things. This is how you would be achieving something when you want to start applying for a job, at least in terms of rail industry. And always try to surround yourself with the people whom you think their frequency matches. By this I mean is like you should always be surrounded with the people who have the same dreams with you or same ambitions, who want to move ahead in a career. There are lot many people who think that, okay, I do not have any kind of suggestions or help from any of my friends or family, but you have to choose your friends and family in that manner. Not family, I mean the friends circle you have to choose in such a way that you would be aiming towards your dream or you would be focusing on your dream. Job, maybe in terms of job also, if you are in a business aspect, you can into business also. Since I said that Indian universities are not much focused on technical aspects of railway engineering, but let me tell you, a lot of European countries and also some parts of other world countries, they have dedicatedly MS programs or master's programs for rail engineering, be it rail management or rail technologies. Even in the research field, there's a lot of things happening in the European universities. The University of Birmingham is one of the top universities, I can say, in terms of transport infrastructure or the railway technology. And the KTH University of Sweden offers a dedicated programs for the people who wish to pursue their career in the rail field. Also, Monash University from Australia is one such university. These are just a few universities which I listed and which I thought are offering, but there are a lot many more, I can say, colleges or the universities which offer a lot more MS programs or higher education apart from the master to pursue. Why I'm trying to get this slide and tell you, explain you this, because once you get out of your college, you have to choose your profession very get the as much as information from these universities. And I have seen that German universities are a lot many universities in Germany which are kind of facilitating or kind of supporting the education people from at least abroad. A lot of Indian students, they study in Germany for the MS programs with less, say, with a much lesser cost compared to other universities. You just either have to give the IELTS exam or a TOEFL exam, and some universities even they don't prefer that. They directly take with certain normal exams and they try to get you into admission into these colleges. So these are some of the preferred ways which can push your chances to get into rail domain quite easily. When it comes to software tools, I must say this is the must thing to enter into any of the rail specializations. Just if I tell about the first icon, if I'm trying to put my cursor on, it's the Power Rail Track. It's basically a Bentley product, basically used for a track alignment design. So there is no company in the world, or I can say the companies who are into rail design firms, they are almost 90% or 95% of the companies use this software for the design. So what's happening now in the current market is they are finding it difficult to people train this, because training is a little bit time taking also and costlier also. So they prefer the people who are already knowing this software a little bit, at least 20-30% on how to use the tools at least. If that is the case, then you have a very good opportunity. Otherwise, people when they get into the company, then they have to learn it from their peers or senior colleagues or something, and then they try to master it. But today we have so much of competition that if somebody who is having this kind of software skills already right at the beginning, they are at a very much high advantage than the others compared to others. Also, there are products from the Autodesk. It's needless to say that AutoCAD is a must for a civil engineer. Whether you are a designer, whether you are drafting anything, you have to know this particular software. And without these kind of soft skills, you will have no chance to stand. If I say very bluntly, you will have not a very good chance to stand in a competition of so much of candidates. So I urge or I request, or I can say I suggest you people to get into these kind of software tools. Try to get connected with the industry people and ask them how you can try to demo on this, or if you want to buy as a college, from college, if you want to buy and use it as a student license also is possible. So you have to figure it out and see how you can benefit your students also. Because I don't think so as a student you can buy these softwares and just try practicing. It's a little bit difficult. Apart from, I think, AutoCAD, you have a student's version. Even the Bentley, you have a student's license version, but that is for very limited time. But of course, you have online so much of solutions on YouTube and their own website that you can get at least 10 to 20% of the entire software knowledge, even before starting the career. Now, since I have come across a lot many hurdles when I was into my early years of professional track engineering, I did not find much of the things which would be helping. Apart from just on-job training, there was very less scope. But seeing the demand and the kind of infrastructure, the potential what the metro rail infrastructure has, people have come up with a new setup or new companies or the training academies which are dedicatedly working for training the professionals who are already in the rail and people who are want to get into rail or the engineering students. They have a huge good amount of opportunity to enroll in these kind of institutes and get exposed to the latest rail happening and what kind of on-job trainings they can get. So they are well equipped and well prepared and they have good chances. So IMRT, which is at Hyderabad, it is the Institute of Metro Rail Technology. It's quite popular and it has gained the award this year for the most prestigious training institute in terms of rail field. They got a recently award. So apart from that, there are other institutes such as E2E Rail, which is also situated in Bangalore, Yelahanka, which offer courses for all the domains apart from track, for electrical engineering, for electronic engineering. They offer huge number of courses which can help them to boost their career profile in terms of rail. Also, if I say there is a railway academy, it's situated in, I think, in Noida. They also offer a quite a good number of courses. And the same is the case with the Rao Certification Center. It's also situated in Bangalore. Because of the COVID, I think you have very good chance that you can take the courses online as well. But I prefer once something is good enough to meet physically, you have some courses which need to be on a physical state because you can experience the kind of things in terms of track construction or track design, all those things. There are some free platforms as well, which I had figured out when I was learning the things. I tried to find out by my own and I figured out that World Bank is such one group which dedicatedly works for the free courses to enhance the, I can say, knowledge in terms of their domain, particularly in transport infrastructure as a whole. And Edison is Indian Railway Training Academy, which offers training dedicatedly for Indian railway engineers and public sector companies related to metro. But apart from that, they have also started their courses on diploma in railways for people who wish to pursue. There is Institute of Rail Transport as well, which is also providing management and you can say diploma courses distance courses also for 1 year, 6 months, 2 years also. You can benefit out of it if you really wish that degree alone is not sufficient. And needless to say, Google and YouTube are the two best friends when it comes to learning, and you can find huge amount of content today on this Google. Whatever it is, right from the design stage, right from the construction stage, how the project is starting, or how to get the end. Every single bit you can find it out. So there is no reason that okay, today I am not able to find any solution. How do I get into any kind of knowledge learning camps or something? That's not true. You have a lot more opportunities, but you have to figure it out. And again, I focus on internships more mainly because there are some MNC companies in India. I will be taking names in the later slides. They offer internship courses again. So take that kind of opportunities or grab such opportunities. When it comes to domains such as rail domain, it is very important to get connected with all over the world and the things which are happening in today's world, especially across Europe and some parts of Australia. There is huge number of technologies have been developed, right from the rail track maintenance till the digitalization of the entire rail network and how to analyze the different kind of features of that project. And lot many technologies in terms of research and innovations are going on. So as a technical person and as a professional, you cannot just depend on your job experience. You need to get in touch with the industry people. So networking is very much essential, I can say. So I have been personally very benefited from the LinkedIn. I have been connected with almost 200, 300 plus of professionals across Europe and Australia, and even some Middle East professionals who can help you share their knowledge without cost, I can say. You can get interacting with them, you can find a call with them, you can ask any types of details for them in terms of any questions regarding the design, all those things. So network is a key to sustain in particular industry. Apart from that, I can say there are some technical institutions which offer you a chartered engineer status. So when it comes to rail domain, especially I have seen in UK and Europe, if you have experience of at least 5 to 6 years, then you should be having along with that chartership status also of the engineer. Then they prefer you as an expert for that. Otherwise, that's the most preferred qualification. They put it as an initial criteria. So there are a lot of institutes like Institute of Engineering and Technology UK. There is Institution of Civil Engineers in UK, and also in India also they have a Indian Institute of Parliamentary Engineers, which offers courses as well as membership programs, but not chartership. For chartership, I think you have to get it through Institute of Civil Engineers, Institute of Engineers India, sorry, which is situated in Kolkata. You can get a chartership status, but I prefer these charterships from the UK, which is very dominant, and one from Australia. They are quite beneficial in terms of your career and profession, because that is one of the mandates to, if you want to work in UK or Europe or Australia, they prefer the people with this professional status. Now, as I have interacted with so many companies, and I can tell with a very confident that these are the top companies which are very much, I can say, active in terms of rail design consultant firms. Right from the, basically most of them are from Europe, I can say dominant from Europe, but also Indian companies such as RITES, and recently they have started with a company called NCRTC, which is again a dedicated company for regional metro system, and also a high-speed rail system company has been set up to work on high-speed projects of India, that is NHRCL, National High-Speed Rail Corporation of India Limited. So if you think that okay, I want to start my career and I want to shift my career and get into these kind of companies, so start following these companies on LinkedIn, and start getting connected to people who are working already in these companies and try to get information from them. Where it can be very basic information that how do you get into these companies, what kind of profiles they are looking for, and how can you benefit into this company, and how can you make career out of these companies. This is not an exhaustive list, but this is what came to my mind when it came to a rail domain, especially I can say dedicatedly for civil engineering field, but also I think there are many companies on this slide which are multidisciplinary, like from electrical, electronics, mechanical, and everything. So I think these are some companies which you can look for to start your career with, so that your career is at a very good pace. Okay, now everything is okay, everything looks good, everything looks fine, but why you should be choosing a real career over the other conventional careers which is already in place and people are already working on those professions or career? Based on my experience, I felt that I listed some of the advantages, or I can say why the reason why I have been in the industry. Okay, so you would be working with some of the biggest rail networks of the world. When I say this biggest rail networks, they are the biggest rail operators in terms of the passenger crowd, or I can say the kind of network in terms of length of the track and the kind of technologies they have using in order to maintain the infrastructure. So when you work with this kind of projects or the companies, then you would be benefiting a lot in terms of your technical knowledge, your experience. It will go from I cannot explain the kind of experience you will get when you work on these kind of metro systems. Right from the Middle East till all the UK, Australia, even in India, Indian Railways, I don't have to tell how big it is and how complicated the network it is and how they very well manage the whole system. Right. This slide is very important because I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this thing coming up. Few years back, 4 to 5 years back, I was hoping that the system was very much limited to IT, technology, or the computer science people. But this has entered a lot deeper even in the rail technology. Right from the these kind of technologies, even like data science or the kind of big data, handling of so much of data, and how to segregate data and sort it and make it in a meaningful way, which can help the companies who are already maintaining the infrastructure, they can benefit out of it. So you need to be very well equipped with the programming. If you are civil engineering and you have good programming skills and you have good analytical skills, and if you can contribute in terms of automation and all with the help of your skills and knowledge, then I think you are the topmost guy who will be in demand in the next 5 to 10 years. So mark my words, this technology is taking all over the world, and in no matter of time, there will not be much of the jobs which were done by engineers would be taken care by the software tools or the kind of technology which is coming up. There will be not many jobs which will be at the stake, engineering jobs, because they will be taken care by most of the, because everything is depending on the time, and time is precious in today's world. So to save time, everybody would think of this kind of technology. So we should be number one in getting this skills acquired first. Of course, once you are a rail professional, you would have a chance to travel abroad, depending upon the projects you are working, the companies you are working. When I tell about the travel part, it's all about dedicatedly the kind of experience you would be having working with the international professionals and the kind of technologies they are having in their companies, and how you can learn those, and how can you benefit in your career, and how can you transfer those skills to your subordinates or the juniors, and how you can make career out of it. So when you travel across various countries, you will get to know large amount of knowledge in terms of professional knowledge, also in terms of life experiences. So that would be very handy, and I think this has been happening with the most of the rail professionals, and they enjoy this kind of experience in the professional life. When it comes to, I think this particular slide is basically I think people will be excited a little bit. Why? Because it's all about money, right? But one thing want to make sure is that when it comes to, I have made this slide particularly for civil engineering domain, and based on my discussions with the industry experts and some of the HRs whom I am connected with. When you start the career in rail industry, do not hope for much of the high-tech packages, or I can say very good packages. Of course, we know that how civil engineering industry works and how the initial packages, how they have to start their career. So you can expect anywhere between 2.5 to 4 lakhs in the initial years of your career. But mark my words, and just after 2 to 4 years, if you spend in an industry, then you will be at a very good position that your skills will be in so much demand. Then you can take care of your finances very well. But do not at all compare anytime with the IT industry, and nowhere it would be close to it. But of course, the initial phase, it would be little bit not so good to compare with the IT industry. But of course, yes, in long term, because these are the industries which are in demand, and these which will be sustainable in future. So you would be having a very decent packages throughout your career. If I tell about 15 to 20 years of the down the line, but the value which I've shown is for the present market. As per the inflation and the kind of career you would be having after 20 years, it would be a lot more. So just imagine, and you can think on this kind of monetary benefits also in your career, and you can decide on this. Yeah, and you would be working on one of the biggest national projects, which are very much of a national interest. And if you see also, everybody today talk about any kind of metro activities happening. It comes in newspaper, they are publishing in your TVs everywhere. Everybody is focused on what's happening in metro projects, right? So you would be part of such a elite club, and the kind of challenges you would be facing in these kind of projects is just unimaginable. You would be known for your projects in metro field. The kind of, for example, people who worked in Delhi Metro and Konkan, sorry, if I have to take a name, Mr. Sridharan, he's called a god of metro. He worked for dedicatedly for most of his career in Konkan Railway, which is quite challenging terrain with lots many of tunnels and all bridges. And to get the executive in that kind of projects and terrain is challenging. So his experience counted a lot in that, and then he came into the metro, Delhi Metro, and he was in charge of Delhi Metro, and that's how his whole aura of a metro man became so big. So just imagine the kind of knowledge and the kind of experience you would be getting into this kind of projects. And when you look back after 10-20 years of your careers, and you will cherish those moments that you were a part of a nation building, and you would be remembered for your project work in those projects. Of course, when I talk about job security and sustainability, this has 100% job security. In every field, people are complaining that, oh, because of
This conference will now be recorded.
it because of the COVID, but it's a temporary, not be affecting in the long term. And I advise and I suggest that you try to stay in a company when you start your career, at least 3 to 4, I can say not less than 4 years in a particular company. Why? Because you would be familiar with a certain progression of the project right from the inception till you deliver that project, and you would be confident enough to hold on to the further progress in your career. Focus on that, and you would be getting very good, right? So I think I am done with my presentation. I think it took more time. So pardon me for that. And yeah, if I have any questions, please I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I request all the participants, if they have any questions regarding today's topic, they can throw their questions. They can turn on their mic and they can ask the question. Otherwise, you can even write your question in the chat box.
Done with my presentation. I think it took more time.
Hello,
Session
good morning,
is-
sir.
Yeah.
For that.
Go ahead.
And,
Good morning.
Any questions?
Can you hear?
I would be happy to answer.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Good morning.
Please tell me.
Yeah, I'm Shailendra, working as a HOD in
Thank you very much, sir.
ASS Polytechnic, Nanjangud.
I request all the participants, if they
Yeah,
have
this
any
is very good presentation on railway engineering. Thank you very much for your sharing your experience and also very elaborate explanation about the railway engineering, scope of railway engineering for civil engineer. I just wanted to know what is the scope for the diploma in civil engineer in railway industry?
Yes, sir. As I said,
How they are placed and what is the nature of work they have to do? Because we are giving very minimum knowledge about the railway engineering. Only one subject we have in our syllabus. That is only just giving introduction and definitions of various terminologies and all. We are not going to give any detailed design aspects and all. Is there any scope for the diploma in civil engineer for the railway industry?
Yes, thanks for that question. Definitely, with the civil engineering as a foundation background, they have a lot of good chances, especially in metro technology. Having said that, with just a diploma degree, it's quite unreasonable to tell that they would be getting direct job in industry. As I showed in my slide, even for the graduate, engineering graduates, it's quite difficult to just with the help of degree, it's not possible. So I request people to equip themselves with such training. There are not many online trainings now happening and certification courses, at least 3 months duration or 6 months. But for if you are dedicatedly talk about the diploma students, they have a very much advantage of going for 1 year courses. As I talked about IMRT, it's one of the premier institutes now. It's based on all the Indian professionals and the companies who are running it. All industry professionals are giving the training in there. So you will be directly in touch with the industrial technology, what is happening. You can learn from them. And they give I think, a 1 year diploma course certificate. Through that, I think they also assist in the placements also. They have some collaboration with good companies. That would be very beneficial and a good step for a diploma engineer. But I also insist the diploma engineers to get their bachelor's done, because I'm telling very frankly, most of the companies today in metro companies, they look for at least masters. Why I'm telling is that there is no relevance as such for masters, but the thing is that's become a very ideal situation for them, so that they don't have to worry on any other educational aspect. So they keep the minimum criteria as masters or something, but BTech is professional. It is okay for them to hire, but with a good amount of these kind of background skills, like they do certificates on railway engineering, they learn some software tools, then nobody can stop them. One good thing is that they can learn software. If they are known from their software certification, then the company will just try directly take them, because that is the most good thing that they can do. And most companies want that kind of thing from them. So there are 2 to 3 options for them to start after diploma. But just with just diploma, they will be at not a very good level in terms of construction engineering background. They would be not put in a good hierarchy level. So if they want to serve decent level, I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your nice presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, if you can read, there are some questions in the chat box also.
Okay. Somebody has asked, I think, Mr. Anandi, what is the opportunity level for women in railway having teaching experience? Okay. Ms. Anandi, the thing with industrial culture is they do not, I mean, give much weightage on any of your teaching experience because there is a huge contrast on engineering, I mean, industry requirements and academic requirements. But if you are really wishing into getting into rail, there is a, I can say, huge 50% of the share is given or dedicated to women engineers. There are a lot many good companies in India and MNCs who are only focused on looking half of their strength in workplace as a woman. So as I was working in my previous company called Arcadis, they have a very much good ratio, almost 50% ratio are women. So they focus on hiring a woman candidate. So there is no doubt that you cannot get into railways. But yes, with teaching experience, it's like difficult. But as parallel to that, with your teaching experience, if you have other little bit of industrial knowledge, as I shared in my presentation, that would be very helpful. They would appreciate you a lot because you are already teaching and then you are also trying to get the knowledge on the industry. Then of course you will have a good chance. But yes, as a woman itself, you have very fair chances of getting into metro industry. Technology used in rail and metro construction both are same or not? Yeah, that's it. The thing is, when I talk about Indian Railways, they have to still cope up in lot of in terms of technology in metro because metro technology is lot more superior because it deals with newest companies into design firms. Indian Railways are having a good conventional way of design and execution, but it is safe. But they have to still engage their engineers in terms of technology, which is comparable to today's modern world. But yes, the technology is not very much similar. They are quite different because most of the railways is on the ground. If I say we normally call it as a basket, and on the metros they are on a different, I can say, carriers. They are on the even tunnels or on the over the tunnels like viaducts. So they are different platforms. So technology is quite different in terms of that. Okay. Yeah. For Nagpur Metro has 268 kilometers and budget is around 400 kilometers, but Surat has only 40 kilometers and 1,000. How is that different? I think this question is from Vinod. Mr. Vinod, the thing with the metro project is I should explain the major chunk of the project cost involves in terms of the land purchase, or I can say the land disputes or the land I can say sharing. So major chunk of the investment goes into this kind of taking of land purchasing from the private or from the people, public people. It depends upon city to city. For Nagpur, you are saying the budget is 400 crores because they do not have to take any extra land which is belonging to somebody else. It was a government land, and most of them they try to fit the land in terms of road where there is an MSI or the local municipal road. They don't have to deal with most of the cost. So that may differ basically on that. But technology-wise and in terms of the construction-wise, most of the projects have the same cost. It only differs in terms of the land acquisition and other disputes with the utilities, all those things which we have to find with the local bodies, government. That's how the difference comes. Okay, did I find any other question? Yeah, Mr. Noor, I think I did not find any more questions now.
Fine.
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'm having a small question.
Yes.
What kind of experience you are expecting from the civil engineering graduates? Yes, sir. To join your companies.
Okay.
Because BE civil, is it sufficient? Even taking 3 months or 6 months courses are sufficient. What type of experience we are expecting, sir? Because multi specialties are required. in railways.
Right.
Yes, sir,
Right.
that is why, because structural engineering is there,
Yes.
and then what do you call geotechnical engineering is there.
Right.
Like this, many specializations are there. Transportation, mechanical, electrical. So what type of skill or nature of experience you're expecting from our that is civil engineering graduates?
Right. To be very frank, because I have worked with these 3 to 4 different multinational companies, and the kind of expertise what they look is, first is the very conceptual knowledge, very strong conceptual knowledge in terms of your already civil engineering background. Maybe it is a structural engineering design background or a soil engineering background, or in terms of your transportation master's background. You need to be very much familiar, and you have to know every single concept by your experience, not just from your academic knowledge. When it comes to hiring of a graduate, they look for this particular conceptual knowledge, and at least they should be having some software skill knowledge. When I say about software, because most of them, they are very not used for our designs and all. First, at least you should be very much familiar with the systems like AutoCAD or a Bentley STAAD Pro. These are the 2 basic things which say, if you have demonstrated some kind of internship experience, or if not internship, at least some training experience where you have dealt some live projects, even if it is a smaller scale, that would be preferred. At least they will be having a more weightage than that. Apart from this, when you try to get into any interviewing stage, or when you are being hired, you should be at least worthy enough to explain a very basic concept regarding the rail infrastructure. By this, I mean that how a metro rail works, or what are the components involved in it, at least the overall terminology. Like if a structural engineer is there, he would be asked to design a normal pier as good as how we design the big bridge pier, or the foundations, well foundations or open foundations. So he should be having at least an implication that, okay, a train is going over my bridge or viaduct, so kind of forces, at least he should be having that idea. This kind of forces will be applicable. It is wind load, or a lateral force, or a braking force, or earthquake load. What kind of forces and how they will be acting. So they might ask this kind of similar questions when the train is moving. If he's answering these kind of questions in a basic with a concept, then I think that's a good advantage for them. So even in transportation, there are a lot of good opportunities. So transport engineer has to be very much familiar with the alignment design. So how an alignment is designed, why it is designed, why there is a curvature, why you need to give a cant, what is the use of cant, what if you don't give the cant, and what if you reduce the speed, what will happen to the train. So these kind of information, the basic information around your academic background, which has an implication
Actually,
on this project.
then PG course is better, no, sir?
Yes, PG, I
Transportation or
prefer
railway
that,
engineering,
yes, I prefer people doing
PG,
masters at least. Yeah,
master degree.
that would be more better.
Hello,
Good.
hello, sir.
Yes.
So one of my brother was worked in IRCON, that is
Okay.
Konkan Railways. He was
Yes.
worked as a structural engineer from NITK,
Great.
Surathkal. He was
Right.
working for more than 15 years in
Okay.
railways. Now he is working in Bangalore, Nagarjuna Constructions, DGM.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. He was having very huge experience during from Mangalore to Goa, the
Oh,
railways
yes,
under
Right.
coastal regions, oil foundations. Yes, sir.
That's very prestigious project and very challenging project. The Konkan railway belt. The railway is the people who are working there have a huge advantage over the other railway professions because of the mere, I can say, this kind of situation they had dealt, and they succeeded in this project. Yeah, so it's very good to hear that he worked there 15 years. So Mr. Nikhil is asking, will you be uploading the session on YouTube? Do you plan to have more sessions? Yeah, Mr. Nikhil, I don't think so. It would be something on the LinkedIn, but I'm always open for any kind of sessions if you have to. I mean, if you want to plan more, or I can also discuss on one-on-one basis if you want to or wish to. I can do that, but not on YouTube because there is so much of content available in today's world on YouTube that it's not something that people will not be noting. But of course, for the college people and the people who want to enter, this is sufficient. But you will get a lot more content and knowledge on YouTube.
It was a nice information, sir, today. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. Is there any diploma courses on railway engineering in India?
Yes, sir. There are a lot of diploma
Anyway.
colleges. Yeah.
Is only one is in Bihar and another is in Pune. That is institutes, sir, engineering institutes. Only two in India.
Yeah, so there are other institutes, like I said, there is a Institute of Rail Transport in Delhi, which offers a distance courses. There is one more dedicated technical institute which offers diploma and AMI engineering in railways also. That is called Institute of Permanent Way Engineers. They offer dedicated diplomas in the rail term. And also the Indian Railways and the Ministry of Railways together, they have opened a deemed university in Vadodara. It started in 2018. They offer very good courses, BTech courses, or I can say master management courses on the railways. I can, if you will reach out to me personally, I can give more details on that. I have my number here and email. I can give more details if you dedicatedly wish to know more information on those things, because I cannot provide anything on these slides because of the time constraint.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any participants have any more questions to ask? Okay, fine. Just we are at the end of today's session. Thank you very much, Shivaji Hiramat sir, for sparing your time here with us today. We know how difficult it is to have all the guest speakers in a single platform, but all the participants as well as the guest speakers have contributed from their end to make this event a very successful one. I congratulate even Shivaji Hiramat sir for reaching such a height in a short period of his life. And definitely the days will be more fruitful for all the participants also. If all of us start working in the direction what our guest speakers have told in the 5 days of webinar. I want to thank Shivaji Hiramat sparing his time, and I will.
Thank you, sir. With this, we will conclude
For reaching
today's
such a
session.
height in a
I
short
request
period of
Professor
his life.
Mahbub Kanchina
And
to
definitely
propose
the days
vote of
will be
thanks. Over to-
more fruitful
over to
for
you,
all the participants also. If all of us start working in the direction what.
Good afternoon, one and all. Now it's time to propose vote of thanks. It gives me an immense pleasure to
5
convey
days
my
of
sincere
webinar.
gratitude
I want to
to our
thank
management for
Shivaji
their
Hiramat
kind support and
sparing his
cooperation
time.
towards
And I
successful
will
completion of series of webinar on life skills for civil engineering
Thank you, sir.
professionals. I
With
also
this,
convey
we will
my
conclude
sincere
today's
gratitude
session.
to our beloved principal and
request
director,
Professor
Dr. Anand
Mahbub
Deshpande sir,
Kanchina
for
and
their support
definitely
and
the
cooperation
days will be
for successful
more
execution of
fruitful
this
for all the
event.
participants
Thank you, sir.
also.
I take this
If all
opportunity
of us
to
start working in
thank
the
our
direction
Director
what.
of Academics, Professor Amar Bakodi, for his kind help and support towards successful completion of this. Now it's time to propose vote of thanks. I feel proud to convey my sincere gratitude to our
convey
resource
my
person,
sincere
Dr.
gratitude.
Govind
I want to
Belli,
thank the
Administrator,
Shivang
Dynamic
for
Promotions and
sparing his
Corporation,
time.
towards
And
who
I
addressed the
will
gathering with a series of webinars and communication. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation
Welcome
and
to
sincere
the
gratitude
session.
to our beloved
I
principal and
request
director.
Dr.
Next, I take an
Mohan
opportunity
Sachina
for the
to
support
present
Mr. Mahesh
the
Prasad,
successful
Edupreneur, for sparing his valuable time. I take this opportunity to participant with mind-provoking thoughts, Professor Amar Bakodi, for his kind help and support. Thank you, sir. Successful. Next, I take an opportunity to thank Dr. Prasanna Kumar, Assistant Professor, RA Resource Person, Dr. Govind for sparing his valuable time and addressing the participants on the topic addressed the gathering with a series of webinars and communication. Thank you very much, sir, for opportunity and with my mind and Mallikarjun Producer, government registered value and opportunity for the support and for sharing his knowledge, educating for sparing his valuable time. I take this opportunity to participant with also provoking I also convey my sincere gratitude for his kind help and support. Thank you, sir. Successful next, I take an opportunity to EUV SUD, Prasanna Kumar, Assistant Professor for RA Resource Dr. Govind sparing his valuable time and career opportunities in the railway on the topic addressed the gathering with a series of on behalf of the engineering department. Thank you very much for all the opportunities and invitation for sparing valuable time. Government registered and our consultancy for sharing his knowledge for initiating this event and to making all of us to work together towards successful completion of this webinar. Thank you so much, sir. I wholeheartedly convey my sincere gratitude to all the participants from various parts of India for your active participation and being with us all the 5 days and making this webinar memorable one. And hope your continuous support will be appreciated. Last but not the least, I thank all my colleagues for their kind cooperation and support for all the 5 days towards successful completion of this webinar. Thank you one and all. Feedback link has been shared in the chat box. Kindly give the feedback.
Feedback link is shared in the chat box. Please submit your feedback. One more link will be sent to your registered email ID. The feedback link. I was supposed to give the feedback for the entire webinar series, all 5 days together. So the link which is shared in the chat box is the link for today's webinar session. So the whole webinar series feedback link will be shared in the email, your registered email. So please check your email today, and I request everyone to submit your feedback. Thank you, Shivagi Hiramat sir, for joining us today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hello. I just want to take this opportunity to thank all the management of the College of Engineering Technology and especially Noor Ahmed Hosni, my friend from college. Though he's telling me, sir, I did not wish to hear that because we both are friends and we have been very same. Yeah, of course, I was very much excited to do this presentation, and hopefully in future also, if anything special, if you want to hear more from the railway industry, I would be happy to help you with the more sessions. And if at all, if any one of you want to reach me personally, you can take a number from Noor, and if you have any clarifications more on the industry and anything related to my industry, I would be happy to. Thank you, everyone.
Sure. Thank you.
So, bye.
Bye.